And
sounds like I should know him. What's he got? What's he bring to the table to?
Ground game, wrestling,
Okay.
submissions.
Okay. Okay. Well, we ready to kind of start back over? Oh, she's getting her editing going. And okay, we're back. Welcome back, and you're back with Joan, with the Joan Jerkovich Show, and my guest, Basvic, who is one of our MMA professional fighters from right here in Salina. Also remember to stay tuned. We're going to have some talk here later with our second guest about obesity. So Base, let's go on into that, the discipline of your workouts, time commitment, diet. I mean, you can't be at the top of your game and be a pro in this sport without that. What is your routine?
Well, I would usually, I made sure that, you know, I would get before every session, you know, I would get a good 20-minute warm-up in.
Before the actual fight?
Well, yeah, before the actual
okay.
Exhausting training.
Oh, training.
And, you know, just a lot of shadow boxing, a lot of ground movement that's implicates and is similar to jiu-jitsu or wrestling, and just, you know, just ab exercises, and just a lot of warm-up, and then I would stretch for 15 minutes, and then it would just start from there, and, you know, from a lot of rounds of pad work where, you know, punching and kicking pads, and rounds of just, you know, regular boxing. And then,
are you usually with a trainer when you're doing this, or are you sometimes on your own?
I usually
kind of know
was,
your own routine.
But yeah, I would do my own routine too a lot. Like if I didn't have anybody to train, I would just shadow box a lot, and then do a whole bunch of bad work. I mean, that was like the Bible to my training, which is tons of bad work till where I wanted to fall over.
Really?
Yeah.
So how many hours a day might you figure you tried to train?
I would try to train
get ready for a fight.
At least 3 hours a day.
Wow.
So.
Do you do any cardio with some of that? Do you like
well,
go out and run?
Believe it or not, there's a lot of cardio as far as wrestling somebody for 20 minutes.
Oh gosh, it has to.
Sparring somebody for 20 minutes or more, and hitting the bag a lot. And I would do sprints. It's like running, but it's faster. And warm up with jogging, stretch my legs, and then do some real intense sprints, and then cool down with jogging. And stretch.
What about, do you have to also stay in prime form with your diet?
Yeah. I would eat like rice and chicken breast.
Oh geez. Oh,
and so I would just try my best not to put too much junk in my body.
So it must give you an edge to be as fit as you can be. Not only skillful, because, you know, skillful with the moves, but also the fitness.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, the thing, I mean, you can look at the biggest, scariest muscular monster ever, but if he doesn't have any, if he's not conditioned as far as his cardio and...
Yeah, I saw you roll one guy over, but he looked kind of fat to me. I mean, I know it was, again, on your highlight video, I'm going to send everybody to your website, but, you know, the highlight video was just this overweight guy. He just looked like, and you kind of just tapped him down, and he fell over, and then you rolled him over like a sausage, and you'll go back and look at it. You'll see it. It was almost funny. I'm like, what is this guy doing in the ring with Base? I mean, you guys didn't even look like you should be in the same place.
That's funny you bring that up. I'll tell you why he was in there. Just because it was in the beginning, and that was only my second one, but I'd already gained popularity because of the way I finished one of their hometown heroes. So they were having a hard time finding an opponent, and 2 people, in fact, actually backed out of the fight.
So
and they just found this guy. He was a street-fighting gangster thug, and he insisted on fighting. He didn't know who he was getting in there with. He was just insisted on it. And then when he got in there, it was like a walking punching bag.
Well, he was, and I mean, it was like he kind of just rolled over, and like, you know, he realized very early on that he was no opponent for you, you know, I'm sure. But it was kind of funny to see, and you've got lots of YouTubes up about your fights. So part of your going into being a professional is you've had a trainer we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and is that usually the same as your coach, or are they two different people often?
Yeah, most of the time. Like you can have a jiu-jitsu trainer, a boxing trainer. You can have several coaches, but it's usually your main guy that runs the gym that will. Or sometimes, the 2 or 3 coaches you have will be in the same corner with them when you're fighting. So usually I always had just one coach.
Right, and I could hear some of those fight scenes where they're like a coach coaching you throughout the fight and telling you, they're kind of observing what's going on. So does then also a promoter come into play, or is that just something you and your coach might both do to promote fights and get you out there?
It's usually a coach will call a promoter and try to set up a fight, or a manager will do it if you get a manager.
Right.
Or sometimes the promoter will call your coach, and you just kind of develop this, I guess, quote, friendship with the promoter.
And everybody wants a piece of the pie. Is there any money in it for you? Are you able to make a living at this so far?
You have to really build your record up and get some good wins, because that in the beginning it doesn't pay a lot.
Well, I would do amateurs do pay though if you win. There's a pot even in the amateur field.
Honestly, I never took or accepted any money when I was an amateur, because I heard it was illegal.
Oh,
but
that's interesting.
They code it up with saying it's for gas and hotel stay when they pay their amateurs. So I didn't get paid until I started fighting professional. I try to be a good boy.
Well, yeah. Well, especially if you have your eye on being professional. You don't want something you've done as an amateur to mess up that, that
right.
That
That's what I was thinking about too.
Exactly. And Base, I have to ask you, because there's something that really intrigues me. And from your biography on your website, it says, "I'm not normally violent. I can turn it on and turn it off when necessary. I'm a very nice person, sometimes too nice." How do you switch like that? What is the switch mechanism that goes through in your head that puts you in that ring to be so aggressive, and I have to say sometimes so brutal? That's my take on it.
Yeah. Usually, well, for one, I have to train hard, and before the fight, I gotta train and push myself to the limit. Otherwise, if I haven't been training very good before a fight, then before I step in that cage or that ring, it's like I've already lost. It's like,
so you're mentally prepared, and the mental preparation goes through all those hours of training.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as soon as you step in that ring, that switch gets turned on.
That's exactly.
And do you just go from feeling like this nice guy to just this intensity? I mean, is there just almost a feeling rushes through your body?
It's weird. It's like, most of the time it's a lot of anxiety and fear, and then it switches. It's like it's all gone. And sometimes it doesn't even go away until you and your opponent have made a form of contact, whether it be a punch in the face or just a little tap on the shoulder.
So that first contact is when the anxiety starts to go away, and you just go into the fight mode?
It really depends on the person. It's all about attitude. Some people can switch it on in the locker room when they're warming up. Some people don't have any real control over it. It doesn't switch until the ref looks at them and says, "Are you ready?"
And then they switch it on.
Yeah, it's just really the person and what they know they've done before the fight.
Right.
Or just pure stupidity.
Yeah.
Someone that has no business being in there.
So how do you switch it off? Because we're going to have to end the interview. But tell us how you switch it back off.
I just switch it back off.
Yeah, you've got to switch it on. How do you switch it off?
Well, it's usually if you lose.
Oh, that switches it off quick.
Or if you win, and
takes a while for that adrenaline rush to kind of dissipate.
Yeah, it's still there, because you could smash your shin or smash your fist, and you won't feel the pain until maybe an hour.
Yeah, got that adrenaline.
Because that adrenaline is still going.
Bet,
Absolutely.
You bet. Well, Base, this is so interesting. There's always more we could talk about, but we'll wrap it up with Joan on the Joan Jerkovich Show, and I encourage you to go to joanjerkovich.com, watch the video, because I want to talk to Base about his acting career. This is Joan with the Joan Jerkovich Show. You might be able to edit that last Joan Jerkovich thing out, because I went a little long on you this time. I was so good yesterday.
Is it not live?
Not very long.
No.
Oh, okay.
Not very long.
Just in case I turn into a nutcase over the mic.
Whoa, no, you're on. You don't get out of it. Once you sign that release, you're done. But, and of course, we're still videoing. So,
right.
So that's good. But I am really excited about this screenplay. Are you still interested in acting? Are you still hoping to pursue that?
Yeah, it kind of threw me off when you called and asked me about it. You spent a lot of time on the script, huh?
Oh, well, yeah. Anytime you finish a screenplay, you've spent buku hours. I can't even tell you how many hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Why did that throw you off? I'm just surprised. You just thought it was surprising I contacted
Well,
you about it?
I wasn't sure if you still were doing it.
We talked about it about 2 years ago.
Right,
probably.
right.
That's
So,
how screenplays
yeah,
go.
it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I like doing it. You know, I watch shows like The Office and stuff, and I just think it would be a fun thing, a job, or even just for fun, just acting with a crew and watching yourself on TV. So.
Right. Well, you know, I told you that, you know, knowing that you were a cage fighter and knowing you from that last movie we worked on, that I used you as my muse, and also because, you know, a big part of this, and I think I talked to you maybe briefly about it, was that, or maybe I didn't talk to you about it, but the cage fighter has a little daughter, and she'd be about the age of your Alexis, who's 8, right? And the whole a big part of the scene is how this cage fighter can be just so aggressive in the ring, and part of why he's so aggressive is he had a real tragedy in his life, and he's angry. He's very angry.
Right.
In fact, his wife was murdered, and of course
Nice.
his daughter's mother, you know, and so he's very angry in the ring, and then he comes home and he's the most tender, caring, affectionate, just like this complete difference between the guy. And I have to say, when your bio that I read that says you can turn it on and turn it off, you know, really inspired me to write that into the storyline.
Cool.
And I'm very, very excited about the piece. Now, the cage fighter in the screenplay is a secondary character, but a very meaty role at that.
Right.
The primary one is a man that's like in his late 50s, but then he befriends this young man, and they almost become like father-son. And it's really an interesting piece, and I've got a producer out in LA that wants to take a look at it when I get it firmed up.
Great.
And I would really like for you to, you know, if we get to where we're actually going to put this on, to do a screen test for it to see if you feel like you might have the chops to carry a role.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. What other things have you acted in? What other acting have you done? I don't know how much people, you mentioned it again on your website, but I don't know how much people know about
funny,
that
like,
in you.
I've only, like, okay, the first one was this guy out of Wichita. He wanted to make this, this is going to sound silly, but he wanted to make this action superhero movie.
Yeah, but that's how all those little films get done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, when I went there to audition for it, he had me just do a self-interview of myself in front of him and 2 other people at a table while he recorded it, and I just told him about myself and told him I was a martial artist and stuff, and I just threw a couple flashy kicks in the air, and his eyes just kind of lit up, and like that made the interview for me. It didn't matter if I was an actor or not. And he's like, yeah, I really want to get you in a fight scene, and you know, I was just impressed, and I was like, oh, cool, cool. So I got really excited for this, and he only had me play a thug with a gun getting beat up. I never really got a chance to.
You didn't even have any lines, so to speak? Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, I think I could have even did the fight choreography for this movie.
Better than they did.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
But,
exactly.
you know.
Well, and that's one reason when I said before I send this out to the LA producer, and I've actually got a couple of screenwriters that are going to read it for me. One is actually in San Francisco who's had 6 screenplays optioned for films. That's pretty cool. You know, that means he knows what he's doing. And he's going to read it for me and give me some, but I wanted to have you and some other local actors do a read-through, and especially like with you, I had to stop you a few times in our radio interview because you use language that I'm not